Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Aida Farihah binti Amir Hazwani with metric number 1916946. I am the last presenter that will be talking about the crime prevention, and also we conclude our seminar. So now, without further ado, let's start with crime prevention. The definition of crime prevention is actually the initiation of some action to reduce the crime step by step, and slowly we remove it from the community. I am very sure that my groupmate just now have explained in very detail on how and why crime happened. Yet, still, it will be very hard for us to control and stop those people from committing crime. So, the only way that we can do in crime prevention is through situational crime prevention, and then through the community and social crime prevention. So now I will discuss first about the situational crime prevention, and then will be followed by the community and social crime prevention. I think most of you don't know or never heard about this situational crime prevention. Situational crime prevention is actually a strategy to make the situation become harder for a person to commit crime. As we know, people commit crime because at a specific point and specific situation that are easy for them to do that. As an example, a girl is driving alone and put her handbag at the passenger seat. So in this situation, it is very easy for the snatcher to break the car windows, and then snatch the handbag right away, just like in this video. So what can we do to change the situation is maybe we can change the windows car into the thicker one or to the high grade one, and then maybe the girl should put her handbag under her seat instead of putting it at the passenger seat. So this is what situational crime prevention means. It means how can we change the situation so that it will be harder for the pupil to commit crime. Situational crime prevention is divided into 5. The first one is increase the effort involved in offending. The second one, increase the risk associated with offending. The third one is reduce the provocation. The fourth one is reduce the rewards that come from committing crime. And then the last one is remove the excuse for offending behavior. Let's discuss the first category, which is increase the effort that the offender must make to carry out the crime activity. What can we do to increase their effort? Firstly, we can practice target hardening. Target hardening is about making our property become harder for them to access. For example, when you park your car in the public area, make sure to use steering column locks and immobilize, so that if the offender trying to steal your car, at least they need more effort and time to unlock the locks. The second technique that we can do is control the access to the facility, the access to the company, or to the access to the school or the university. The company should use the electronic card access to make sure only staff can enter the company. And maybe the security guard should be more strict in allowing people to enter these facilities. In this way, it will be harder for the offender, and they need more effort to enter the place. Besides that, we also can try to deflect their attention. For example, a group of teenagers usually have a race illegally at this one street. And then what can authorities do is they should close the street at night, so that the teenager will have hard time and they need more effort to find the other place, the strategic place that they can use to have that race. And then lastly, we should control the tools that can help the offender in committing crime. For example, do not and never leave anything or something like leather outside of your house. Because of what? Because this leather can help the offender to enter to our house easily. Now, let's move to the second category, which is increase the risk that the offender must face in completing the crime. So, how can we do to increase the risk? So, firstly, the first thing we can do is through increasing the guardianship. For example, in a residence, they should do the neighborhood watch, so that it will increase the risk of the criminals to be caught. And mostly and usually, these criminals will avoid themselves from being caught cult, so they will not attack that residents. Then we also can utilize the site manager, like having 2 or more staff on duty at night, or maybe rewarding those who detect and report about the fraud activity. And then finally, we should strengthening the formal surveillance, such as putting on the CCTV, security CCTV, or put on the security alarm, because the formal surveillance will deter the beginner offender, maybe, who likely to be afraid of the police, the security alarm, security camera, and also the inspectors. Now, let's move to the third category, which is reducing the provocation. In this third category, it mostly focus on the psychology and the emotion of someone. For example, because sometimes stress and pressure make someone become more violent. For example, someone is stressed because they have to wait for a long time in a store or in a restaurant, or maybe they are being offended by others' word and action. So in this situation, we can reduce the provocation, the stress, and the frustration through the more efficient service by the restaurant and stores. And even people should be more polite so that they would not hurt others' feelings. Other than that, we also can reduce the provocation by avoiding dispute. For example, segregation of the rival fans in the stadium. When we separate these rival fans, it can avoid them from arguing and fighting in a more serious way. And then we also should reduce the emotion arousal by having a referee in order to enforce a fair behavior in the field. And then next, we also should neutralize the peer pressure. Maybe like the schools can separate the troublemakers and the good student. And then maybe in the company, staff who negatively affect others should be fired or punished. Next, let's move to the sport categories that focus on reducing the benefit that the crime offers. Usually, criminals or offenders commit crime because they are constantly seeking for the benefit that they can take from their action. Like maybe they got money from the robberies, or maybe they take revenge from the person that they had so much. So, the first thing we can do is consider the targets by hiding the potential gains. For example, we should hiding the jewelries, and maybe we can close the curtain at home so that it can prevent people from getting a peek of the inside. And maybe people who have expensive car, they should put the expensive one, inside the garage instead of leaving it on the street or just leaving it in front of their house. And then we also can go to the extent to remove the item completely so that we can prevent from being robbed. For example, we do not wear any jewelry when we go out, and maybe instead of bringing a cash inside of our wallet, we just bring the card. And then people also should register for their property identification. For example, through the vehicle licensing and also through the property marking. In this way, it will help to reduce the thief incentive because they could not resell it anymore. And then through another technique, we can do the destruction of the market for the stolen goods. Reducing the market of the stolen goods will give a significant impact to the burglary and also the thief. So the authority should make a move to monitor the street vendors and also the pawn shop so that it can reduce the benefit that they get through the sales of the illegally obtained product. Finally, the last technique is through denial of the benefit. For example, the road bumps on the road to deny the benefit of speeding, and then the pin number on the credit card or debit card will deny the benefit from getting money. Now we're on the last category, which is the 5th one that focus on the fact that the offender usually will rationalize their action by making excuses. So, the excuse first can be removed by posting the instruction in the public area, such as the board that have the word of no parking or private property. It can prevent the offender from saying that they don't know that they cannot park here and they don't know that this is a private area. Besides that, the authority also should control the drug take and alcohol take by the people, because usually drug and alcohol is being used as the excuse for them for to avoid from being punished. As what happened right now in Malaysia, about the drunk people driving and cause the death of other people. They use the excuse of being drunk to avoid from being punished, because they said that they are drunk, so they are not in the right position, in the right mind to to make the people dead, and it's not their intention to kill that people. And then the lastly, excuse can be removed through alerting conscience. Alerting conscience is used to make people become more aware on their environment, such as the road speed display board and then the signature for the custom declaration, so that people won't have any excuse to avoid from being penalized if they do something wrong. So that's all about the situational crime prevention. Now we move to the community and social crime prevention. In community and social crime prevention, it focuses on the synergism between the public, the government, the schools, and also the parents. We can divide this into two categories. The first one is development crime prevention, and then the second one is community development. Development crime prevention focus on the children and also teenagers, with aim to intervene the early life of the teenagers and children, so that in the future they wouldn't be involved in the criminal activity. So firstly, the school and the parents should educate the children about the good and the wrong thing. Maybe like the parents should discipline their kids and their children if they do something wrong, and then the teachers at the school should teach the students the good and the right thing, and also help the parents to instill the good value in the student. Then we should minimize the risk of the impact of the risk factor. For example, parents should not abuse their children and say it is a punishment for them. And also the school, they should take a serious measure on the bullying issue that happen between the students. So by doing all these action, we can eventually make the students, the teenagers, become a good person and not become violent. And lastly, the community should avoid from stigmatizing at the risk young people. Public should not treat the teenagers with the problematic parents as the problematic also, because actually this stigma of the young people with the problem parents will make them give up, and then we make them become problematic just like their parents. In contrast, the community can help the teenagers by give them a chance to have a good life and then to become a better person in the future. Now we move to the second category, which is community development. In community development, we focus on the collaboration and cooperation between the public and also the government. The first one is about the strengthening informal network, which is the community and the public should be brave to exchange the information with the police and also the authorities. Next, the collaborative effort between the agency across the government and non-government sector also will help in crime prevention. Just like in Malaysia, we have Malaysia Crime Prevention Foundation, which is an NGO that help the government to promote the awareness in crime prevention and also provide a rehabilitation of the offender at all time. And lastly, citizens should get involved in the program or in campaign that organized by the government and also NGO. With the synergism between the public, NGO, and also the government, it can help to reduce the crime that has been very wild this day. So, as a conclusion, criminology is about the study of the crime and also the deviant behavior with the purpose to identify the causes of the crime and thus seek for the suitable solution either through the crime prevention or maybe through the punishment rehabilitation and maybe through the alleviation of the social stressor that leads to the crime. The reason that we choose this topic is to determine the root causes of the criminal behavior and then try to develop the most effective and human means in addressing and preventing it. In Surah Ibrahim verse 24 to 26, Allah has stated that our life is just like a tree. A good root will grow a good tree, however a bad root will spoil the tree. Similar to us, similar to human, our root is our heart and our iman. A good heart, which is a good root, will make us become a better person and a good person. However, a bad root will eventually make us become a bad person. That's why criminology is very important as it wants to determine the bad root that lead to the criminal behavior. Maybe if we can heal this root, inshallah we can remove the criminal behavior. So that's all from us from the seminar 3 about the criminology.